Chad Reynolds with BangShift.com here at the 2013 SEMA show, and we're in the American Powertrain booth with Gray, who is the grand poobah of American Powertrain.
Poobah.
Yes. Nice. And American Powertrain is your solution for a manual overdrive transmission installation in virtually anything. Car, truck, muscle car, street rod, you name it, they've got it. And Gray's gonna cover a couple of parts that are gonna help you do those installations and then get on to the big bad boy, the Atomic twin disc clutch. So Gray, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Fill us in on what you got.
Well, actually, we've got several exciting products for 2014, and then there's these. This year, we're actually coming out with an entire line of transmission mounts, body mounts, and engine mounts made out of this material. This is called a ballistics mount. It is made out of ballistic armor. It's the same stuff the military uses to armor a Humvee. And they also happen to use it to mount gigantic marine engines. It was designed by the government. It has a lot of your money tied up into it.
Very good. It is ultra lightweight.
Very light. It's petroleum proof. It absorbs lots of shock. We can shape it in any shape, so we can make lots of cool stuff out of it, and it works great.
And you're doing transmission mounts, but you're also doing subframe mounts, is that right?
Body mounts.
Yes.
So this is a complete set of F-body body mounts for 67 to 81 F-body.
Very cool.
Yep. They are available lowered. These are stock height. They don't compress either, so whatever height you put them in at, they'll be that same height forever.
Okay.
They're also they're contoured. This is kind of unique. Most of the body mounts are not contoured the way the factory mounts were, so they don't sink into all the recesses in the body.
Yeah.
These are actually contoured exactly like the factory mounts. So,
gotcha.
As I say, whatever height you put it in at, the height it's going to be.
That's where it's going to stay.
We
Tell
also
us
have
about
with
this setup, the new hydraulic clutch setup? This
is a hydraulic setup for Fox body. The Fox body Mustangs, they have terrible clutch actuation. They use cables. The cables stretch, they flex the firewall, they're really bad. So the Mustang guys have been begging us for years for a good solution, a hydraulic solution. This is the only complete hydraulic solution out there. It gets rid of the quadrant, the cable, the fork, everything. You've got a throwout bearing on the front of your transmission that's hydraulically actuated, but this is really where the magic happens. This actually mounts to the firewall, so if you can pretend this black plate is the firewall.
Right.
And this thing is actually sitting on the peg that runs the old quadrant.
Okay.
And we put a roller bearing on that peg, and as it goes up, it just cantilevers this over and presses down on the master cylinder.
Wow.
So it's very smooth. It's super low profile, which is important for the fuel-injected cars. There's not much room to accommodate this thing, and it works great. We have a lot of happy customers already. It's a fairly new product, but it seems to be doing very well.
Now, if you've got one of these setups, you obviously then have to decide what clutch am I going to actuate with this hydraulic throwout bearing.
Yes, you do.
So you have come up with the new Atomic Twin,
right?
Which is a Billy Badass twin disc clutch designed for big horsepower.
It is a big horsepower, big torque clutch. As with any twin, the advantage is you get twice as much friction surface, so you get a lot of clutch with not much pressure plate effort. This is a pretty light pressure plate.
And that means that for the guys that are out there, that means that the pedal pressure they're going to have to apply with their leg is going to be low.
Yes, very low. But the reason that twins have not been all that successful for street or street and strip applications is because a traditional twin, and when I say traditional, it's every twin I can think of out there. Actually, all the components, when you let your foot up off the clutch pedal, all the components come together at once.
Right.
Okay? So they're like an on-off switch. They are very abrupt, they're hard on the transmission, and they're hard to creep forward in traffic in a parade.
Right.
It's just a really hard clutch to actuate, generally speaking. The difference between our twin and a traditional twin is, our twin is progressive. So we have two pressure plates, one on top, one in the middle. And as this pressure plate comes down, it hits one disc, then the center pressure plate, and then the bottom pressure plate progressively.
So when you let the clutch out part way, you're creeping or moving up in traffic or pulling into a parking spot or whatever.
Right.
With the friction from one disc,
right,
as it slowly applies then the second disc when
correct,
you really need it to drive away.
Right, so it's as smooth as a single disc. It'll handle about 950 foot-pounds of torque in a 3,500 pound car.
Wow.
So it'll handle big power, it's comfortable, and the guy that puts it in can drive on the street very comfortably, take it to the strip and blow the doors off.
Okay, now you said one key thing there, 950 foot-pounds of torque in a 3,500 pound car.
Right.
Clutches, you cannot make a blanket statement as to their torque capacity without saying in a particular application, because if you put 900 foot-pounds in a 7,000 pound car and dump the clutch, there is an incredible load on the clutch in comparison to a car that weighs 1,000 pounds, let's say.
True.
So buyers need to pay attention to those ratings, right?
Sure, and like we were talking about the Fox body earlier with the hydraulics, a Fox body is considerably lighter than 3,500 pounds.
Right.
So you can expect this clutch to overperform its rating. On the other hand, if you put it in an Impala convertible, it's probably going to underperform its rating a little bit because you're moving a lot more mass.
Right.
So whenever you see a clutch rating, you've got to consider, well, what were the parameters that the clutch company used to rate the clutch? So we use 3,500 pound curb weight, drag radials, and then we give it a torque rating.
Right.
So, and anytime a customer calls, they're looking for, a torque rating, we're going to ask them what they're going to use the clutch for. We have a very wide variety of clutches in addition to this one. And, so we're going to ask them what kind of car, what they're going to use, how much tire they're going to have, and then we're going to help them decide what is the best clutch for their application.
But if you want the best of both worlds, the ultimate torque capacity and the comfort of a stock style diaphragm clutch,
right,
the Atomic Twin is the way to go.
Yeah, I mean, this thing is like driving a Mazda 6 as far as, the pressure on your leg.
Except you're cooler.
Except you're a lot cooler than driving a Mazda 6. Maybe a Mazda 6.5.
There you go.
Something like that.
Now, tell me, how are people going to get more information on this? If they want to look up American Powertrain and they want to find out more info on Atomic Twin, what do they need to do?
All they have to do is go to AmericanPowertrain.com or give us a call.
Excellent. Thank you, Gray. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Chad.